The sharp sting on my cheek was a physical shock. But the real impact wasn't on my skin. It was deeper, a shattering blow to the very core of my being. The absolute final insult in a decade-long story of quiet sacrifices and unspoken promises. That single ugly sound in our rich living room, the crack of his hand against my face, didn't just break the fragile peace of our perfect, carefully made life. It exploded the illusion I had so carefully built. In that moment, among the ringing silence, I saw with blinding clarity the crumbling building of my marriage, the slow hidden wearing away of my identity, and the heartbreaking distance growing between me and the child I had cared for. There was no more denying the truth, no more hiding behind hope. My world, once a bright picture of shared dreams, had become an empty land, and I was standing in the ruins completely alone. But something new started in that emptiness. A small light of defiance, a quiet whisper that this pain, this ultimate betrayal would not be my end. It would be my beginning. Part 1. There are moments when the air itself feels wrong. When a subtle change tells you everything you've built is about to fall apart. It started as most betrayals do, slowly. A whisper of unfamiliar perfume clinging to a freshly washed shirt. A quick look from Adam, sharp and impatient when my question stayed a moment too long. For 10 years, my life had been a carefully planned song of his success. I'd poured my soul into making the perfect home, raising our son, becoming the unseen builder of Adam's growing business. We were the golden couple, college sweethearts who'd beaten the odds, building a life that looked shiny on the outside. I'd traded my own career, a career I loved, for the quiet satisfaction of being his anchor, his strong base. And I never once felt sorry for it. Not until the whispers began. First, it was the lipstick. A bright, bold cherry red smudged very lightly on the collar of a white dress shirt he'd thrown into the laundry basket. It wasn't mine. My usual color was a soft rose, a quiet confidence. This was a scream. My stomach tightened, a cold, hard knot forming inside me. I told myself it was nothing. A client. A clumsy accident. But the image stayed in my mind. A tiny, annoying piece of glass. Then came the late nights. Just a big project, Lily. You know how it is. His voice, once warm and comforting, had become sharp. A forced happiness that made me feel uneasy. He started coming home smelling of old coffee and something else. Something sweet and floral, not too strong, like the lipstick, but fresh, young. It was the scent of possibility, of newness, and it clung to him like a second skin, making me feel choked. The silences between us grew longer, heavier, broken only by his distracted hums or my own forced attempts at talking. I'd watch him across the dinner table. His eyes distant, his mind clearly somewhere, or with someone else. The cracks in our perfect facade were widening, slowly without being seen, but clearly. And I was the only one who seemed to notice. The next morning, as Adam hurried out, I found it. A small red tube hidden deep beneath the passenger seat of his car. Part 2. You feel it in your bones, that chill of dread. When the pieces of a terrible puzzle start to fit together, clear and devastating. The lipstick. It wasn't just a smudge on a collar anymore. It was a real clear piece of proof. Tucked away in the shadows of his shiny luxury car, my hands trembled as I picked it up. The cool metal was a strong difference to the burning heat in my chest. It was the exact same shade, that bold cherry red. My breath caught in my throat. This wasn't a client. This wasn't an accident. This was planned. This was hers. I sat there for a long time, the engine off. The quiet hum of the city outside was a strong difference to the loud chaos in my head. A decade of devotion, of trusting without question, of building a life around this man. Was it all a lie? I started seeing her everywhere. Not really, not yet. But in every small change in Adam's behavior. His phone became a part of his hand, guarded face down on the table. Our private evenings, once full of easy laughter and shared dreams, turned into him looking at emails, claiming urgent work. When I finally faced him, my voice a shaky whisper about the late nights, the growing distance, the lipstick. He exploded. Not a shout, not a roar, but a cold, angry fury. Are you accusing me, Lily? After everything I do for this family. You're being too worried. You're making me feel trapped. His words cut deeper than any physical hit. They were made to twist the knife, to make me doubt my own mind, to blame myself. But I wasn't too worried. Not anymore. The whispers from his coworkers started to come back to me. Quiet tones, sympathetic looks. That new assistant, Maya, she's very close with Adam. Maya. The name hit me hard. A young, smart intern from our old university. Now Adam's personal assistant. My mind spun. I remembered her. A bright-eyed girl full of big plans. How foolish I had been. Welcoming her, even offering advice. The thought twisted in my stomach, a bitter feeling. The air in our beautiful, expensive apartment once so full of shared dreams, now felt heavy with unspoken truths, with the bad smell of betrayal. I felt like I was drowning, choking in plain sight, and the man who was supposed to be my lifeguard was the one holding my head under the water. The fear was no longer about losing him. It was about losing myself. The next day I made a call, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hand, to a private investigator. The truth, however ugly, was now my only way out. Part 3. There's a particular kind of pain in knowing your worst fears are not just real, but far uglier than you imagined. The reports came back, thick envelopes filled with cold, hard facts that cut through my last bits of denial. Photographs, timestamps, locations, Adam and Maya, late-night dinners, private coffee shops, quiet talks in his car, and then the hotels. Many hotels. The dates, the times, the sheer boldness of it all burned into my eyes. It wasn't just a quick affair. It was a bold, ongoing story, happening right under my nose while I carefully planned his meals and managed our son's schedule. The shame was a physical ache, a burning pain that spread from my chest. It felt like my very base was breaking piece by agonizing piece. But the real hard hit came from Maya herself. Before I could even understand the investigator's findings, my phone buzzed. An unknown number. I opened it, and there it was. A picture. Adam and Maya tangled together in a hotel bed. A cruel, mocking smile on her lips. A look of proud victory in her eyes. It was a direct hit. A declaration of war. She wasn't just taking my husband, she was enjoying my pain. Suddenly, Maya wasn't just an employee anymore. She was a presence in our home, under the name of Adam's special assistant. A constant chilling reminder of his betrayal. She'd be there when I picked up our son from school. A polite, unsettling smile on her face. She'd sit at our dinner table, offering unwanted advice. Her eyes subtly challenging mine. Adam, meanwhile, acted as if nothing was wrong. His public shows of affection for Maya grew bolder. His lack of care towards me a sharp, cutting blade. I felt like a ghost in my own house, watching my life fall apart, powerless to stop it. The air was thick with tension, a suffocating silence broken by Maya's cheerful stories and Adam's dismissive remarks. But the deepest cut, the most unbearable pain was yet to come. It was the moment my son, my sweet, innocent boy, started to move away. One evening after a particularly late night with Maya, my son looked at me. His eyes had no warmth, and he said words that broke my soul. "Mom, I'd be happier if Maya were my mom." Part 4. The most agonizing betrayal isn't just from a lover, but from the ones you thought you could always count on, especially your own child. Those words, they echoed in the silence of our rich home, a poisonous whisper from the mouth of my own flesh and blood. Mom, I'd be happier if Maya were my mom. My heart, already bruised and battered, broke into 1,000 pieces. It wasn't just the betrayal of a husband. It was the slow, hidden wearing away of my bond with my son. He was only 10. And like most 10-year-olds, going through the difficult time before being a teenager, he was starting to fight back, to push limits, to test boundaries. And Maya, with her carefully made charm, used every single one of them. I was the strict mother, the one who insisted on healthy, balanced meals, who limited screen time, who understood his food allergies and stopped him from eating things that would make him sick. I was the one who said no to soda and processed snacks because I knew the bad effects for his sensitive body. I was the one who put his well-being first, even when it meant being the bad guy. Maya, on the other hand, was the fun one. She'd secretly give him pizza and sugary sodas when Adam was out. She'd take him to arcades late into the night, letting him stay up past his bedtime, filling his head with dreams of freedom. She'd buy him the newest video games, allow him unlimited iPad time, and give him expensive gifts. To my son, she was the picture of giving too much, the carefree spirit who never said no. I was the old-fashioned one, the boring one, the mean one. He started rolling his eyes at my rules, turning away when I tried to explain, his face a mask of teenage dislike. He started going to Maya for comfort, for advice, for everything. I saw it happening, felt the icy grip of sadness as my son, my little boy, moved further and further away, manipulated by a woman who saw him as nothing more than a pawn in her game to replace me. The pain of Adam's cheating was huge, but the pain of losing my son, of seeing him turn against me in my own home, was a crushing weight that threatened to choke me. I was losing everything. My marriage, my identity, and now the most precious bond of all. The walls of my carefully built world were falling apart, and I was trapped inside, watching it all break. The desperation was a raw, aching wound, and I knew with every part of my being that something had to change. I was at my breaking point, pulled tight, coming apart at the edges. The tension in the house was a real thing, a silent scream building between Adam and me. ready to burst into a storm that would change everything. Part 5. There's a moment, a flash of pure clarity among the chaos, when you realize the only way to save yourself is to walk away. The storm finally broke over dinner. The air was full of unspoken dislike. Adam was arguing for another late night for our son, a trip to an amusement park with Maya and him, ignoring my worries about his allergies, his bedtime, his need for a routine. My carefully kept calmness broke. All the years of quiet sacrifice, the endless emotional work, the gut-wrenching pain of his betrayal, the agonizing loss of my son's love, it all came together into a furious, deep cry. You are destroying him, Adam. You are letting her poison his mind. And you are destroying us. My voice was rough, unfamiliar, full of years of held-back anger and hurt. Adam's face twisted, a mask of cold fury. You are crazy, Lily. You are the problem. You are making everyone feel trapped with your rules and your worries. The argument grew, words thrown like sharp knives, each one drawing blood. The living room, once a safe place, felt like a battleground. And then he did it. In the middle of my sentence, as I stood there, tears streaming down my face, begging him to see, to understand, he raised his hand, and he slapped me. The sound echoed through the rich space, a sharp, sickening crack. My head snapped back. The sting on my cheek was immediate. But it was the shame, the pure, complete disbelief that truly stopped me. My world tilted. The tears stopped, replaced by a chilling clarity. I stood there completely still, watching him, his chest moving fast, his face red with rage. And I knew. Enough. The word sounded in my mind, not as a whisper, but as a loud statement. Enough. This is over. In that moment, everything became clear. The years of giving up my dreams, my identity, my career for his, the emotional cost of being his quiet support, the pain of watching him betray me, the heartbreaking distance from my son, and now this final ultimate insult. It wasn't just a slap. It was the final nail in the coffin of a marriage that had already died many times. That night, even as the sting stayed on my cheek, my mind was sharper, clearer than it had been in years. I calmly packed a small bag, making sure to include a few things that meant a lot to me. I pulled out my old laptop, the one I hadn't touched in ages, and sent an email to a lawyer. A simple, clear message. I need to file for divorce. Immediately. The next few weeks were a blur of legal meetings, painful talks, and the hard process of separating our lives. I fought for my son, for visiting rights, for what was fair, but I also knew I needed to step back, to give him space to understand, to feel sad, to process, without the constant tension of our falling marriage. It broke my heart, but I made the hard choice to temporarily give up primary care, making sure I would have regular protected time with him. I knew this was a battle for his future, and sometimes going back is the bravest step forward. I was taking control, not fighting to stay, but fighting to leave. And as soon as the papers were signed, I booked a one-way ticket to Italy, the place I'd always dreamed of, a place where I could breathe again, a place where I could find myself completely separate from him. The echo in the silence. Adam eventually married Maya. Their wedding photos, spread across social media, were a clear reminder of the life I had left behind. But the world, in its own mysterious way, has a strange sense of fair play. Life with Maya, as it turned out, wasn't the carefree paradise my son had imagined. Adam, who had never truly learned to care for anyone but himself, proved unable to handle our son's complex food allergies. There were scares, terrifying emergency room visits, and the harsh understanding that fun didn't always mean safe. Maya, for all her charm, weakened under the daily pressures of life, unable to manage a home or Adam's increasingly demanding schedule. He developed ongoing stomach problems, a constant companion to his stress. And Maya, the special assistant, found herself overwhelmed, unable to deal with the reality of a marriage that lacked the quiet strength and constant support I had once given. Slowly, subtly, my son started to see. He'd call me, his small voice unsure, asking about his favorite healthy snacks, about my old routines. He'd tell me about Maya's impatience, Adam's growing frustration. He began to understand the quiet sacrifices, the unseen work, the unconditional love that had once defined our home. He saw the difference clear and undeniable, but by then I was no longer waiting. I was living. In a sun-filled studio in Italy, the smell of olive trees and fresh paint filling my days. I reconnected with old friends, traveled to charming villages, and poured my soul onto canvases, each brushstroke a sign of my new freedom. I wasn't just surviving, I was thriving. I was Olivia, the woman who had dared to walk away, who had chosen herself. They chose to lose me. I chose to find myself. And the truth is, sometimes that painful moment, that final breaking point, isn't an ending. It's the most powerful beginning you could ever imagine. A slap can sting, but sometimes it's the very force needed to shake you awake, to remind you that your worth is non-negotiable, and your life is yours to reclaim. Hey everyone, it's Olivia from Lamo English. This journey, it's been a lot, and I know so many of you out there have faced your own turning points. Those moments where you knew deep down you had to choose yourself. What was your enough is enough moment? What was the moment that made you realize you had to walk away to find your own strength? Share your stories in the comments below. Let's create a space where we can all reflect, heal, and empower each other. Subscribe to Lamo English for more inspiring stories. Your support helps us bring more valuable content to you.